So at one point in my life, I knew someone who was diagnosed with cancer. Scary news for sure. And they told me that they prayed to God and asked for healing. They prayed for a miracle. Then they went back for a follow-up visit. The doctors did their tests, and to their surprise, they couldn't find anything. It was later determined that there was an error with the machine, a malfunction which produced a false reading. She never had cancer to begin with. So was this a miracle? I mean, is it still a miracle if there is never any healing in the first place? Or is it more that perhaps really at one point she did have cancer? Or did God change the conditions of reality so that it was merely equipment malfunction? Does that distinction even matter? And what does the Bible have to say? Let's take a look.
Attention, bargain shoppers.
So in the Catholic Church, there is, interestingly, a formal process for determining whether or not a miracle has occurred. In order for a person to be considered for sainthood, they need to have performed at least 2 miracles during their lifetime. And these miracles need to be verified. So if a miracle is said to have occurred, the bishop in that area must first commission 2 medical reports conducted by specialists. Then the documentation is sent to the Vatican, where a team of doctors and experts pore over the details of the event. And they do this to decide if this was, in fact, a bona fide miracle. I find that interesting. The methodical and even scientific approach to determining whether or not a miracle actually happened. And you might be tempted to think, well, what is there really even to think about? Was it a miracle or wasn't it a miracle? Well, let me ask you this. What distinguishes a miracle from luck? I had a guy once tell me about a near accident that he had while riding his motorcycle. He survived, and he said that he felt like it was a miracle. He attributed that to God's intervention. Does that count? What about something that isn't supernatural by nature? Something normal and naturally occurring, but that appears unlikely because of its timing. I'm reminded of a story in Matthew 8 which reads, "Then Jesus got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly there was a furious storm which came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, 'Lord, save us, we're going to drown.' He replied, 'You of little faith, why are you so afraid?' Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, 'What kind of man is this? Even the winds and waves obey him.'" So storms can come up violently and dissipate quickly, especially in a place with geography such as Israel. There is nothing really unnatural about this event, except the timing of it. Similarly, what about events that take place that are known to us and completely natural? Like, have you ever heard the expression, the miracle of birth? It's a scientifically proven process, but because of how incredible it seems to us and how special it appears to be, we call it a miracle. So is this a miracle? So if we were to give a definition to what a miracle actually is, we might be tempted to say something like, it needs to be something outside of the natural order of events. Okay, but if you want to get twisted up even more, consider this. In talking about the Gentiles or the non-Jews, Paul describes the process of bringing them into God's kingdom as unnatural. If we look at Romans 11:24, he says, "After all, if you were cut out of an olive tree that is wild by nature and contrary to nature were grafted into a cultivated olive tree, how much more readily will these, the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?" So here God goes against nature to allow everyone to be saved, not just the Jewish chosen people. But this is not considered a miracle. So in summary so far, the concept of what a miracle is or isn't is extremely difficult to define. We're kind of all over the place theologically speaking. So to help answer this question, I thought it would be good to approach it from a different perspective. Instead of getting pulled down a bunch of different rabbit holes, let's lay out how we should interact with miracles according to Scripture. So number one, we are able to do the same miracles that Jesus did. So in John 14:12 through 14, Jesus tells us, "Whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it." And this did happen. His disciples, after Jesus' death, carried on performing miracles. Acts 5:15, we're told, to such an extent that they even carried their sick out into the streets, so that when Peter came by, at least his shadow might fall on one of them with healing power. Or in Acts 19, 11, and 12, we're told, God did extraordinary miracles through Paul so that even handkerchiefs and aprons that had touched him were taken to the sick and their illnesses were cured and the evil spirits left them. And Jesus himself said that anyone who believes has access to this kind of power. Before he ascended into heaven, he said that these miracles and signs will accompany those who believe. So we can do miracles today ourselves. And number two, miracles happen because of our faith. Matthew 9:29 says, "Then he touched their eyes and said, 'According to your faith, let it be done to you.'" And interestingly, Jesus did not say, as one might think, "Because of your belief in me, because of my healing power, you have been healed." No, he says time and time again, it is because of your faith you are healed. And then conversely, we're told in Matthew 6, Jesus could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. So faith is a very key component in miracles. So much so that even Jesus himself was unable to heal people who didn't have it. So getting back to the original question, I believe based on scripture that anybody can witness a miracle. Anybody can watch something happen. Anybody could say, oh, she doesn't have cancer after all because the machine made an error. Anybody can watch a miracle, but it takes faith to actually see a miracle. I'm reminded of what Jesus said to Thomas when he finally believed that Jesus had risen from the dead. Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." So that's it for today. I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please feel free to leave a comment below. It does help out the channel. Like and subscribe. I'll leave the verses in the description down below. My name is Adam. This is Bargain Bin Theology. And remember, you get what you pay for.